Silicon Valley Iron Man Musk has been very popular in the past 2 years, but this year, he fell down on what he is best at. Tesla's status as the world's #1 new energy vehicle company has given way to China's BYD. The core reason has a lot to do with Tesla's lack of production capacity. Tesla's production capacity will not go up for a while, which has a lot to do with it having only one factory in China. Because the Berlin factory in Germany, which Musk has high hopes for, can only produce about 1,000 cars a week, while the Shanghai factory can produce 2,500 cars a day. Tesla is still inseparable from made in China. Why is that? Why are Chinese so hardworking? Your vision is your world. Welcome to Auto Age. Now you are on the journey to look back at every change in the car, witness every surge in speed, and explore the mystery behind the car. Before we started today's video, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Okay, let's get started. For enterprises, the logic of industrial chain layout has two close principles. First, close to raw materials and suppliers. Taking new energy vehicles as an example, China has formed the world's largest new energy vehicle supply cluster. There are 49 auto factories in the Yangtze River Delta alone, and 4,454 parts companies with a registered capital of more than 20 million. In Shanghai alone, there are 442 auto parts companies. This is also the biggest reason why Tesla chose Shanghai when it decided to build a super factory in China. The second is close to the consumer market. As one of the most resolute countries in supporting new energy vehicles, China not only has a complete industrial cluster, but also on the consumer side, new energy vehicles have maintained a continuous growth trend, and the market penetration rate will enter the mainstream market this year, reaching as high as 35%, or 35 out of 100 vehicles, are new energy vehicles. Behind this is a huge potential and massive market. Of course, in addition to these objective reasons, there is also an important subjective factor, which is also the issue we will focus on today. That is the industrious and brave quality of the Chinese people. Tesla's Berlin plant finally started production in March this year after an 8-month delay. However, until now, the actual production capacity has only reached 1/10 of the original planned figure. Even though the epidemic in Shanghai this year temporarily halted the production of the Tesla factory, the production capacity after the resumption is much higher than that of Tesla's factories in Europe. On the surface, this is because the working culture of developed countries such as Germany is completely different from that of China. Musk once praised Chinese employees. They take the initiative to work overtime until 3 a.m., and the workers are even willing to live in the factory, but this is impossible in Germany. No way. Of course, many people are calling Musk an unscrupulous capitalist. We put aside whether Musk's values are correct, there is a seemingly universal understanding. Chinese people seem to be naturally more industrious than foreigners. Why? In European and American cultures, individual interests are more emphasized, and Chinese culture is more emphasis on collective dedication. The collective emphasized here is as small as the family and as large as the country. For example, in Chinese culture from ancient times to the present, parents and children are part of the same family from birth to death. Therefore, in addition to earning enough for themselves, Chinese people always want to do more and save more money for their children and family members. So, Chinese people are born to like to work more than foreigners? Of course not. Every man is responsible for the rise and fall of the world. In my eyes, the hard work created by this culture is the inner strength that China is destined to achieve transcendence and achieve great rejuvenation. Some viewers may be dissatisfied when they heard what I said, and they would argue that it's not that the West doesn't care about their families, it's that their welfare is good, and the Chinese have no choice but to save money to support their children and the elderly. Objectively speaking, the welfare of Western workers is much better than that in China, we have to admit this. However, this is another essential reason why the Chinese are industrious. The qualitative change of things is a process of continuous evolution, and the difference in the development stage creates the essential difference. The capitalist powers entered the industrial society hundreds of years earlier than China. When China first opened its eyes to see the world, they completed the primitive accumulation of capital through colonization. In 2000, when China entered the WTO and wanted to do business with them, the division of labor in the industrial chain in the West had already been completed, and China could only accept the positions they arranged: foundries, cutting-edge technology, and high-end industries that basically had nothing to do with China. And how low is the profit of the foundry? The story of selling 200 million pairs of socks for a plane can actually explain a lot of problems. The old capitalist countries in Europe and the United States have harvested the whole world by relying on the division of labor in the industrial chain, so as to provide their workers with complete welfare benefits. And China is at the bottom of the industrial chain, earning the least money, and there are more than 1 billion mouths waiting to be fed. It is really not that easy. So, is there no end to such days? Of course not, just not quite there yet. First of all, China needs to change its position in the division of labor in the international industrial chain, move towards the top of the industrial chain, complete industrial upgrades, acquire cutting-edge technologies, develop industries with higher added value and higher profits, and create a global reputation brand. However, if China's position is moved forward, some people will have to move back. If the Chinese eat more cakes, some people will have to eat less. This is why European and American countries have been frantically restraining Chinese companies in the field of science and technology in recent years. So, how should China break through? The answer is that you can only rely on yourself to work hard and grab it from others. How? First, the hardworking quality of the Chinese people still needs to be maintained and carried forward. This is the internal driving force that supports the rejuvenation of China and its industry. There is no pie in the sky. Just like Sri Lanka, which has declared bankruptcy, Sri Lanka was still a leader among developing countries in the early days. They could have used their rich natural resources to develop planting and export trade, and then drive other industries. But they believe in some concepts of Western economics. As long as they dare to lend and have a deficit, they can promote economic development. When income and creativity are relatively low, and they have not built a good internal circulation, they completely rely on external borrowing and promote a large number of social welfare that is out of line with the actual development level of the country. Its own industrial transformation has not been realized, and there are too many grand plans that are out of reality, which will eventually lead to the collapse of a country's finances. Secondly, just like the smile curve, either you have to have core technology, or you have to have a famous brand, or a strong sales system. These are the two most valuable links in the industrial chain, and it is also the direction of industrial upgrading. Otherwise, the profits created by production and manufacturing alone are not enough to support the good life we want. All in all, no one is born to be diligent, but diligence and reasonable distribution are indeed the starting point to realize a good life. Okay, we just spent another 10 minutes of deep thinking. Do you want to learn about more auto stories? Please keep following our channel and like our videos. See you.